A second-hand gun should always be checked out by a good gunsmith. Hello friends, you might remember from some previous videos, I don't know how long ago, maybe a couple of months, where I was showing you my pistol, the Glock 26 MOS. When they stopped making them, well, I was looking for one, and even as a firearms distributor, as a gun dealer, I couldn't find it. No, they didn't have it. It was simply completely discontinued. I got this one, which, as you remember from a previous video, is used. I bought it secondhand. I bought it from an agency, a dealer that sells guns online. And I don't want to mention who the dealer is because it's a good company with a good reputation. But I found it very strange that they were selling this Glock 26 Gen 5 MOS right when they had just been discontinued. And that always struck me as odd, because why would someone want to sell it? It's usually the opposite. When people know they're not going to make it anymore and it's a good gun, it's quite the opposite. They want to keep it no matter what. But they were selling this one, and since it was what I was looking for, well, I bought it used just like any regular person, not as a dealer. However, you saw in a previous video that it had a malfunction because they had changed the recoil spring for one with less recoil, but it had the issue where sometimes the striker wouldn't strike where it was supposed to. You can see that in another video, and we'll leave the link here to the other video about this pistol. What I want to bring up today is the fact that if you buy a firearm, you don't know the person who you're buying the firearm from, meaning who the previous owner was, who might tell you that the gun is factory original, that they haven't changed anything. So you should have the firearm checked by a good gunsmith, a certified gunsmith who can give you a good diagnosis, a good inspection of the gun you're buying. Recently, I completed the gunsmith certification at the Glock pistol factory. I'm an authorized, certified Glock gunsmith, I should say. And when I got back home after 3 days in Atlanta, Georgia, a few days later, I got curious to check as a gunsmith my own pistol. And what a surprise I got. It turns out that the previous owner of this pistol had not only changed the recoil spring, the recovery spring, but besides having bought a trigger, they call it a performance trigger, which is much better with a few pounds less pull, they had also altered and modified the striker lug. They had filed it down so that the trigger is on a hair trigger, meaning with just a simple little touch, it would fire. This can work out very well or sound very good when you want, to pull a trigger without having to put in much effort, because the more effort you have to put into pulling the trigger, well, the harder it is to keep the pistol steady. However, the way it was modified, what was done to this pistol was very dangerous. The striker lug is held by what they call the sear, the cruciform that has that is mounted on the frame of the Glock pistol. And I don't know if I could show you, there's probably no way I can show you this on camera. It's like here we have the lug of the striker, here is the sear. It fits together like this, right? When you pull the trigger, well, the sear, the catch, drops down, and as it drops, it releases the striker, which then goes and strikes the ammunition and the gun fires, right? If you file the striker lug, then you leave it catching on only barely a thousandth on a tiny edge, and that can be very dangerous. At any moment, the gun could drop and go off, or even with some impact, if you fall somewhere and drop and hit the pistol, well, any little bump can cause the sear to move a bit, and then the striker will be released and the gun will fire accidentally. As a certified Glock gunsmith that I am, I can give you some good advice. Don't alter your firearms. Don't alter the functioning of your firearms. When a firearm comes out of production to be sold to the consumer, to the public, it has already gone through many studies, many tests, many calculations, a lot of engineering, and starting to invent and alter things can be very dangerous. Or you might simply end up with a gun that isn't going to function properly. I'm Jaime, president and founder of the AlphaCalibre Agency for Investigation, Security, Firearms, Training, and Online Gunsmithing. Thank you for joining me. See you next Saturday.